I'm going to point out the importance of emotional polarity in shadow work to you today. I love emotions. I just think it's so interesting. So we have this one aspect, which is emotional reactivity, which is the reactional emotion that is going to manifest and that you are going to see and feel and people are going to see and feel. And that is a reaction to a person or a situation, okay? And then you have the inner emotion that's in the subconscious, which is actually creating this reaction. So an example would be if someone is angry or very aggressive, that's the emotional reactivity towards a person or situation. But inside of them, maybe the emotion or the inner state of being is rejection, abandonment, injustice, insecurity. That's what they're really truly feeling inside of them. But because that's in the shadow or that's in the subconscious, the only thing that's being expressed is the anger and the aggressivity. Okay, now this can get really complex. That's a really easy way of explaining it. Like anger is quite an obvious one, but there's things like if someone is being very submissive in a situation or with a certain person, it's because they are rejecting in their shadow, is the rejection, like they're not allowing themselves to feel dominance, to be dominant, okay? Whether they be a female or a male. And so there's always this emotional polarity. What we see on the outside quite often is what in the shadow is the opposite of what we are feeling. And if you're refusing to feel certain emotions, the emotions that are going to come up, the emotions that you accept yourself to feel, is just one polarity of what is within you. And it's quite often the complete opposite to what you are truly feeling and what is in the subconscious, because it's a defense mechanism, is to protect you from from your inner wounds not being exposed to the whole wide world. Okay, now this emotional intelligence is really important because quite often what you are seeing in the emotional reactivity is not actually what's going on underneath. And it's also completely random. There's no logic to it. Someone can express anger because behind it they're feeling rejected. Another one can express shame because behind it they're feeling injustice. Each person is completely different as to what emotions they allow themselves to feel and in their reactivity to protect themselves as a defense mechanism, and what is the polarity behind it. Now, quite often there are similarities that come up, like the submission and domination one that I used, but it's not necessarily always very cookie cutter as that, okay? It's very complex and it has to be on a one-on-one basis. So we can never project and say, oh, when I'm angry, what I'm feeling is rejected, truly. Because for the other person, when they're angry, what they're feeling is maybe betrayal, okay? But this allows us to see that there is one thing that is being presented as a reaction to a situational person, and there's something else in its polarity that is being felt within us. To go a little bit further, it is always a polarity. So if we have lived our whole life, I'm going to give the submission and domination example. If we have lived our whole life being in a submissive position, okay, in this energy of submission, it means that we're going to, as a woman, be with a man that is very dominant, or find ourselves in a job with a boss that is also very dominant, because that's the mirror. Like our outer world is our mirror, right? So if we only allow ourselves to be in our submissive energy and to be, then we are actually rejecting the part of ourselves that is capable of being dominant, because we all have all of these resources inside of us. So if you look at them like resources, sometimes being dominant in a situation is a resource, okay? So if you live your whole life in this being in this, always in the submissive position, being submissive to others and to the situation in front of us, then you're not going to know what it is to be dominant. And when you do shadow work, what's going to happen is that you're going to switch, you're going to bascule woof into the other side completely and become maybe hyper dominant. You're going to say no to everyone, you're going to want to rule everyone for a couple of weeks. Why does this happen? It's because it's part of the integration process, you can't fully realize how submissive you are and how far off balance you are in the balance of submission and domination, because it's a polarity, so we have to find our balance between the two of them, which is usually in the middle or somewhere here. Then if you have never experienced this, the only way to know is not, if you want to work on your submission, being submissive, then it's not to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Because you're going to do this and you're going to think, okay, now I'm really balanced, but you're completely in the energy of submission still. So it's essential sometimes it gets real strong and you switch. And here it's really hard for the identity to follow, right? The identity is like, whoa, I'm not this dominant person, and you start judging yourself. And so healing is a difficult process for that exact reason. So in the beginning of healing, we have to make sure that our identity has been softened, that we allow ourselves to be whoever we need to be better, okay, to achieve our goals or to be better, whatever it is, and not say, I'm an eek and I am this type of person and I always do it like this and this is the way that I am, okay? That is limited mindset, okay? It's a fixed mindset. And it's not going to help in your healing journey or in wanting to achieve your goals, because maybe the very thing is that you need to achieve your goals, you're complete resistance to it. And because you don't identify as that type of person, and you're never going to be able to achieve your goal because that's the thing you need to do. And quite often someone who is completely in a submissive role in life is going to judge people that are dominant. So judge others means judge yourself, okay? So there'll be heaps and heaps of resistance to being a dominant person, because in your head, it's bad, negative, whatever it is, to be dominant, and you're not going to allow yourself to go there. But in the healing process, I make you go, you go there. I don't make you go there. That's not the right thing of saying. But in what we do, you have a tendency just to do this switch and to go into the dominant role. In the excessive, very excessive, okay, doesn't last forever, but it's necessary. Because how are you meant to find your balance if you always are trying to work on your submission, and you do this and you do this and you do this and you go, oh look, like I'm in the middle, and you fall back again, I'm in the middle, but you're not in the middle. The middle's here. You don't even know what, and you think, oh, I'm ultra dominant right now because I said no to someone. No, you're still in your submissive role. So the only way to know and to see yourself is to switch into a dominant energy, to understand what that is and to see how you were. And from there, you're going to slide back into a balance in the middle. Okay, and maybe it's not going to be 50 submissive or 50 dominant, maybe it's going to be 60-40 or whatever, however it feels aligned to you. Okay, for each person that's different, but we're never in the 100 and the 0%. That's wounded. That's when we're wounded and we have defense mechanisms and trauma. We will be in the 100 and the 0%. Now, the idea is to get to this middle ground, wherever that may be. Okay, that's where it gets interesting, because that's when choice is put into the equation. In this situation, what I'm living with this person, I choose to be submissive. In this situation, whatever I'm living with this completely different person, I choose to be dominant. And you can use these resources in whatever moment that you feel you need to. And there's nothing that is stronger than you. Oh, it was stronger than me. I just fell into being completely submissive again. I just did everything that he wanted again. It's like this, and you can't handle it. It's stronger than you. It's a no. I choose in this situation to take my power and to be dominant. And in this other situation, I choose to be submissive. Now that's really important, because that's true choice. And if we don't do shadow work, we think we are operating on free will and choice, which we are, but it's being generated by our wounds and our projections and our trauma and the impressions that were made on our fragile, vulnerable young mind. And it's not being based on who we truly are and aligned with our, whatever you want to call it, soul, God spark, true self, higher self, whatever it is. We all have that within us, without conditioning, that part of us that exists without conditioning. Okay. And that's where you step into true choice, where there's no fear, there's no resistance, and there's just complete surrender to who you truly are and to the situation that you're living. And in that surrender, and in that, with that capacity to mold your identity as you go along in life, that's where you get true freedom from, to be the person who you truly are, and true choice. I hope this mini training has been interesting. I can go and talk about this for hours. Here you have 10 minutes. If you want to go into depth and you want to know your polarity and what's really going on underneath for you that you just can't see, you don't have access to, because we need mirrors in this world. That's why we exist in society and communities, okay? It's because we are made to have mirrors, and other human beings are our mirrors. But sometimes you are also their mirror, right? And they can project on you and everything. It can get messy, enmeshment, entanglement, whatever. So that's the reason why having a coach, working with a coach, it creates a clean environment, a clean, open environment, and I hold it, okay, without projecting on you, without entanglement, without interpretation, just so you can see your mirror. And we get really, with bioresonance, I use bioresonance technology, we can get really specific about what is going on in your energetic body, okay, in these emotional polarities. And it will allow you to work on your emotional intelligence and your self-knowledge. I am here on this earth to help people know more about themselves, understand more about themselves, and in particular, their emotions.